This is the Funny Mummies podcast, the podcast for people that hate parenting podcasts. I'm Hatty comedian, writer, actress and mother to two very lively boys. Each show I'm joined by funny mummies from the world of comedy, arts and everyone who can help us in this crazy world of parenting. So settle in as we find the funny side of parenting and being bloody great women. You're listening to Funny Mummies Check-In on the Lock-In series for the Other Woman show on Soho Radio. Hello, how you all doing? I'm Hatty Ashdown. So how are you all? Happy? What a loaded word that is. Fine, we say, in this pandemic time. I think we're coming up for 2.5 months of lockdown and the recent racially charged murder of George Floyd in America. Black Lives Matters protests and a big fuck off to racism. Yes, I've swore it needed it. It's a pretty crazy time to be alive. For me, when someone calls to see how I am at the moment, I reply with, surviving, but are we scared of saying I'm happy? I know a lot of the time I am. Like I'm going to jinx it if I say out loud. I consider myself a happy person generally, or at the very least, positive person. I would say lack of sleep with kids has tested it somewhat. And so now it's something I need to keep a check of. And, well, the school's opening, well, more than one day would be a big bloody help, please. I know. I said that the other day and someone laughed at me like, you're not meant to be saying that. You're meant to be saying, oh, I don't know if I should send them to school or not. So today's topic, with the help of my panel, is happiness. First up, she's looking for a bubble partner. Oh, I should have said at the beginning, yes, the government have now said that we can have bubble partners. And so that means one other person that you can both go into for each other's houses, I assume. We'll find out more about that later because this lady will know. She's looking for a bubble partner as long as they can help remove a child from a bin lid. She's my regular panellist, back on the Comedy Virgins online shows. She's the grapes to my crackers, the Judy to my Richard. It's Gemma Beagly. Next up, BBC. She's a BBC New Comedy Award finalist, has written and appeared on BBC Radio staples such as The News Quiz, BBC Radio 4, Loose Ends, and is lead writer of sketch group Sketchtopia. She has 2 Edinburgh shows, a regular host on the Guilty Feminist podcast, and her own podcast, Keeping Athena Happy. It's mum of one, Athena Kugblenu.
That's right.
I have pronounced it right, haven't I?
It's identifiably right. It's Kugblenu. So
Kugblenu.
I knew he was talking about me. I knew I'm the right.
I wrote it because I'm dyslexic. I wrote it out
call.
phonetically, and then I was like, "Where is it written?"
Oh no, that's all good. It's all good. I get christened every day, so I say people. So yeah, Athena Kugblenu, that's fine.
Blessing. Thank you for joining us at this crazy time. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing good. I'm doing good. I'm keeping busy, so I can't complain.
Well, yeah, that's the most thing for our mental health. We'll get to more of that later. So before, let's just so this is like really hard, like very sensitive questions. We do a little quick fire rounds. Okay. Just to get to know, because we haven't met. I'm sort of, I only started going, I'm bloody old. I've been on the circuit for a while, but I've been off with kids and stuff. So I've only started going back properly in the last 1.5 years. And so let's get to know each other. So this is for you. Number 1, autumn or summer?
Summer.
Early night or lay in?
Lay in.
Meditation or get smashed?
Meditation.
Baby that naps or sleeps all night?
Mine does both.
If you had to choose,
if I had to choose, I would choose naps. Yeah. Naps.
Okay. Yeah. It's a hard one, isn't it? And the next one was going to be to do with potty training, but you're probably not at potty training yet.
I'm not, but I asked the question. I can.
Well, the choice doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. It's probably more one for Gemma actually. Potty training or homeschooling. What would you say, Gemma?
Oh, I'd take potty training.
Yeah.
Oh, any day.
And lastly, birth, all the drugs or hypno pool?
Oh, all the drugs. I had all the drugs, and I didn't plan for them. And once you're in that situation, you are grateful for them. Yeah, all the drugs, all of them.
Did you plan to have any kind of hypno birth?
I planned the pool. I was just sat in a pool waiting for this baby to come, and the baby was like I'm
just in your local swimming baths.
Yeah, I was in this birthing pool, and she wasn't coming out because she was already like 20 days late anyway.
Whoa.
Well, it's a long story what happened, but I should never have been in that birthing pool. Do you know what I mean? She wasn't coming out.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they put me in there. And as a consequence, I just went through all the motions, and eventually they sort of pulled her out of me. And she came out quiet. She was just like, I was busy, she spent the whole labour going, I'm fine, thank you. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in a good word. You know, yeah. I don't want that even. Like she literally was like, I'm not home, go away. But she wasn't happy when she was pulled out. She had a really grumpy face. Like,
really?
Well, babies are really comfortable in there, aren't they?
Yeah.
They don't have to chew.
So were you induced, Athena?
I was induced, yes.
3 weeks. God.
Yeah,
I was induced. Yeah, you, because I was talking to Viv Goscop about you, and that you were coming on the show, and she said to say hi. So I don't.
Oh yeah, we love a bit of Viv. Yeah,
bit of Viv. I don't know if you've ever. Oh my God, we had one the last week, and it was more like a sort of mentoring, really. But she, I don't know if you ever spoke to her because she had like a phenomenally long. Like she just...
I'm not sure, or I might have forgotten because she saw me. We saw each other a lot when I was pregnant because I was in Edinburgh.
She would have, yeah.
So we might have, and you just have so many conversations. But I know she's had a lot of kids. She's you know, you know what I mean? She's done it all, right? She's done it all. Yeah.
Well, I know. Yeah, she's an advocate for not for just waiting. Because I think I can't remember. Is it 42 weeks or something? She waited with.
43. She did.
Yeah, we did have this conversation, and I actually think that's a fair thing to do. They come out when they're ready. They do.
Yeah.
And you can get induced, obviously, and there was a point at which you should do. But I didn't treat my due date as some kind of like occasion.
Target.
No. I was totally chill about the whole thing.
Oh, that's good. That's amazing.
Which is why it went to 3 weeks, I think. But by that point, I knew that it was getting to the point where there was a medical reason to get it going.
But Viv was Viv writing an article about it. I remember reading it when I was sat there 2 weeks overdue. There has been no research on, extended pregnancies since the 50s. So that whole don't go 2 weeks over is based on, 60-year-old.
It's really what I would say is really benefited me from obviously like with your child is just staying for a couple more weeks. They do come out a bit more fully formed. Like the photos are better. Like they're not like you know how little newborns are like, oh, they're really cute, but really they're not very cute because they're newborn babies, right? They look like aliens. So my one come out like, like proper cute. And I was in hospital for a few days. And it was, I'm not saying this because I think my baby's cute, but it was ridiculous. The doctors didn't want to give her injections. They're like, I don't want to do this, baby. I'll get the other doctor in. And it was just because she'd been in for so long. So she'd just come out with just a bit fuller looking, a bit chubbier. She had massive eyes when she was little, loads of hair. So
gorgeous.
There's something to be said. I'd be interested to, and I thought to myself, this is way better than having a tiny shivering thing. Yeah. That's what I was afraid of, those chihuahua babies. So it's really interesting hearing that, because I think if you were to do some research, you'd probably find more robust, because you know about the fourth trimester, right? So babies are basically born 3 months too early. That's why, but if they were born when they're supposed to be born, like we die because their heads would be too big. So that's why they're so useless when they first come out. They can't lift their heads up. They can't do nothing, right? They can't see because they're supposed to still be inside us.
Yeah.
So that's an argument for extended gestation, right? Like, okay, they're already coming out too soon, so the extra days or weeks are of some benefit.
Do add up.
Yeah.
And what did she weigh?
Oh, you're supposed to know, aren't you? She's really bad.
Just perfect.
I think she was like 6 or 7 kilos. I'm really bad with stuff like that. But she wasn't massive. Like they were bigger babies. She wasn't an 8-pounder. I think she was like 7.5, maybe 7 pounds. Yeah, I'm gonna
9.5, 9.1 over here. Ooh, thank you.
9. Yeah, I mean that's a beauty. That's a fit. It was this big. He was
long, actually. He was, when my family turned up, they're like, waiting to see this big fat baby, when you said how much it was. And then it was just long. You see, the weight was in the longness.
That's. I mean, you've got to be proud of that. That's a definite one. Yeah.
I must admit, that was when I had my first child, which I bought. I think, did I talk about this in the podcast last week? I won't go into it. When I had my first child, the first thing I said was, "It's a baby." I don't know why, but I was just couldn't put me being pregnant and baby together. But when I had the second one, I did literally went, "I'm so proud of myself."
No, you should be, man. It's definitely an achievement. Oh. It's biology. Don't get me wrong, but it's that, you know, having babies is not easy at all. We should feel proud of ourselves. Absolutely.
And on that note, I think especially as mums, when we're feeling down, we could just remind ourselves what we've created a life. And let's just go straight in. Would you consider yourself a happy person then, Athena?
I know how to be happy. So I don't know if I'm a happy person, but I know how to be happy. I think I'm a bit too thoughtful to be like a happy person. Yeah. But at the same time, I know I'm aware of that, and I know how to divorce myself from my thoughts. So yes, I'm a happy person in spite of myself.
Good answer. I think. What about you, Gemma? I mean,
I don't know. No, I think I'm you know, that kind of, you know, curmudgeon for kind of effect, really.
Yeah.
I'm content. I am content, and I think, you know, like I'll just, if I can put my head on the pillow at night with some peace in my mind and my heart, you know, then if that's happiness, then yeah, I'm most days, yeah, I'd say. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard though. It's hard, you know.
I think it is something, and I'll get to more later. I've been reading stuff about Mo Goda. Do you know, he wrote the book Soul for Happy, and he talks about it's something you have to work on. It's not just something that happens. But let's would we say, like, I don't know. It's not bad. It's saying, did you have happy childhoods? I don't want to ask if did you have happy childhoods. It's more. I've lost this question now. Would you say it was something that your parents were aware of? Like, now it feels like we have to be so aware of our children being happy, and are they ticking all the right boxes and being fulfilled in certain ways? Would you say that it was something your parents were conscious of? I guess maybe as well.
It's a bit like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So my mum was very keen that we had things like food, clothes, exercise, education, and then as a result of those things, we would be happy. So I don't think it was, you must be happy at all costs. It was like, I must provide for you an environment in which you must be happy. And if you're not happy, then it's your own damn fault, you know? And that was to do with also her means. She didn't have the means to buy us all the things that I guess would have given us instant gratification. And my mum didn't believe in debt, but, you know, she had very little disposable income. So we didn't have the little, you know, all my friends had stuff from the Littlewoods catalogue, right? But we didn't have any of that stuff because my mum didn't even believe in paying £1 a week for the rest of your life for something. So, you know, looking back, I can say that actually she did care about happiness, but her primary concern was that we had our needs, and then maybe stuff in excess of our needs. And the result of that is, I guess, happiness. Whereas I think the reverse of that is now we think about happiness at any costs, and probably we perhaps neglect what really makes people happy, you know, and that maybe means as kids get older, they have to figure those things out for themselves.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, God, I was going to go really in deep with something. Oh God, we keep going so deep in these lockdown versions of this podcast because we're not. It's something about not being together. I don't know if it's Zoom or just lockdown generally, but we're normally much more silly. But it like. Okay, I'm just going to go there. But recently I was chatting with my therapist, which I don't know why I have to say it in that word because everyone fucking has one now. And she's quite cheap. That makes it sound... she's a bargain. And I started seeing her after I lost my mum. And which I hate saying lost. I didn't lose her in Sainsbury's. She died. Is that I was saying one of the things I find hard is that your mum is your anchor, your biggest fan in the world, or my mum was anyway. And so we talk a lot about she's like, yeah, well, so that's the trouble with our kids. We've kind of got to teach them to, like, that you're not going to be around forever, and to not, I think I was too dependent on my mum, and I don't know what that's got to do with happiness, but I definitely think it's, you know, the grief has changed me. I should have said that in the intro, actually, in terms of me being my happiness.
What I would say, Hattie, is that I just my usual, I did a bit of research today. By research, when I Googled something, that there are 3 main things that make people happy. One of the things that I read, one, which is relevant to what you just said, close relationships. 2, a job or pastime that you love. And 3, helping others. Now, given that, you know, that you and your mum had a close relationship, you know, then isn't that, you know, that's a third of the way there. I mean, it doesn't work like that, but, you know.
And also be kind to yourself. Like, grief is going to make you sad. It's not unusual for someone close to you to pass away and for you to feel distraught and to find it hard to find happiness. I think that kids will always grow up to have some kind of dependency on their children. I think that's natural. I would say that it is our responsibility to also give our kids resilience. Yeah. Not resilience, you know, in case we get run over. Like, not. You can't keep going. I'm going to die one day. Yeah, no, but it's just, you know, just to give them, you know, to equip them with resilience, almost subtly, resilience and independence. And my mum taught me independence very young, because surely by getting me in the kitchen and whatever, like, you know, I have an Indian mum, so they don't, there's no sentimentality there. They put you to work. But I think there's nothing wrong with saying I have dependency on my parents. That's the symbiotic relationship we have.
Just the natural,
and it doesn't go away. Like, even when they go, like, it will always be there. And then, you know, we're lucky enough to have children, so we get to talk to our children about our parents. So it's not, I don't see that, even though it will always bring a very sad emotion when we think about it, I wouldn't give up that emotion for anything, actually. You know, my mum is still here, but, you know, I always, you know, I would want to feel that way. I wouldn't want to feel any other way if that has happened, and it will happen one day, sadly.
Oh God!
I'm not a therapist. Should I charge for this? This is really good, isn't it? This is
great. You're really good. No, you are really good. It's. Have you ever gone down that road of therapy?
What, therapy? No, I've never done it. I've never contemplated it. I think I would like to, especially as a comedian. You know, you write a lot, and we're very introspective, and we are in very stressful industries, particularly now. I imagine. I mean, I wouldn't know where to start with getting one.
But you're quite young, aren't you? Can I ask her?
I'm 38, so.
I thought you were a lot younger.
Nah, people tend to.
That's still young. Can I just say, sorry, that is still young. I'm only a couple of years older than you. Are you 38, Gemma? No.
I'm nearly 40. That's what I've flipped. The calendar's flipped. I'm nearly 40.
So now. Just say that for the next 5 years.
I love that ambiguity. Yeah.
I'm nearly 40. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 38. I mean, in the future, it might be something. I think anything is good. Mentoring, therapy, you know, anything like that is really good. It's like defragmenting your hard drive, isn't it? You know, back in the days when we had hard drives and not solid state drives. But it's something that rearranges the things in your brain, gets to the bottom of your behaviour. But I think also as comedians, we do a lot of self-therapy, don't we?
Yeah.
You know, we're always analysing ourselves, and so there's a lot of. I've benefited from that a lot over the years, I think.
I've got to say, it's funny to say, and I don't talk about my short stand-up comedy career that I had the earlier part of the last decade, but I got through to the Edinburgh stage of So You Think You're Funny, and I'd shot up there. I was going to have one night only because it was in the middle of work stuff, so shot up there, flew up there to perform, and then I was going to fly back. Anyway, got there. There's about 250 people in this hall. And first guy goes on, dies on his ass. Second guy goes on, dies on his ass. And the rest of us are thinking, please let me be the one. Please let me be the one that, you know, that cracks this bloody audience. Anyway, I went on. Said my first joke, nothing. And, you know, it's just like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to win this back. And they said they were going to flash a light at our feet at 5 minutes. We had to do 6. And I'd got through my material and that light hadn't fucking gone. But I remember the feeling... I guess it felt like it was humiliation, but it turned into humility then. And actually the kind of like the cleansing quality of that happening, where it's just, where you're just like, do you know what, this doesn't matter, and it's quite kind of cleansing for the soul, just that complete like of staring into this audience of hundreds of people with just dying on my ass. I'll always remember that. It's almost one of the best things that have ever happened to my soul.
Well, I'll say something, not just about So You Think You're Funny, but about comedy competitions in general. And I'm not sure how long you were doing comedy for when you did that competition, but I did the audition for So You Think You're Funny on my 7th or 8th gig in stand-up, and I got through to the Edinburgh stage, right? Do you think I was good enough to perform at that gig in Edinburgh after my 8th gig? Of course not. Why they put me there, I don't know. But what I do know is that, as well as having that humbling experience, what you do learn is you may achieve something in comedy, but what it actually means in terms of you and your competency of your craft is like, it's not a match, and I don't know, maybe they did really believe in me, and maybe I was making up the numbers, I will never know. But what I do know is that now, whenever someone is like, this is great, yeah, come do this, come do that, I'm always like, be better. On the day that that work comes in, you have to be better than when that person met you or when they saw that piece of work, because you never know. So it goes into what you were, I'm almost repeating your story. You're saying that humility, that I had a similar experience, and that humility stayed with me. And you're only as good as your last gig and all that stuff. It's really important, especially in the world of comedy, which is quite crowded. And there are people, I mean, it's a cruel industry. There are people who will just take advantage of you, or put you somewhere to make another act look good.
What do you mean?
That's
I've been around for a long time, and
that's all I will say on that. Okay.
Oh no!
All I will say on that is that when I'm in a space and I know deep in my heart I'm not meant to be there, I know why I'm there sometimes. And this is kind of early in my career. It's not so much these days. This is early on when you're just learning the ropes.
Yeah.
And you have to learn. You have to be really humble about your abilities, I think, because not many people will be completely honest with you about your abilities, to either tell you as good as you are or tell you you're as bad as you are. So you do have to have that humility.
Do you like, because I've always found that really difficult, because that's the thing with stand-up. It's such a lonely business. And I've come from an acting background, which obviously is more, and obviously you do improv as well, don't you?
I do improv, yes.
Do the improv, which I live and breathe, because my husband is
oh, wonderful, wicked.
He's a improv teacher at the FA.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Well, he's a head teacher. He told me off. I go, I'm the head teacher.
So there's school.
It's a school. And so I always say that there's 3 people in our marriage, because he just fucking loves improv. But so that is more group and stuff like that. And he started off in stand-up, and he went to improv because he because of that reason, because of not getting that feedback and stuff. And you get when you're in a group, and stand-up can be lonely in that way. But sometimes I remember when I first started out, I did have a friend that would, this sounds so sad now, but he used to come to quite a lot of gigs, and he'd give me feedback and be quite honest, and I really appreciated that, because otherwise a lot of the time other acts don't, they're not going to say anything, are they, generally?
Well, the acts you're with are your peers, so they know as much as you do.
Yeah.
You get a lot of feedback through comedy, because you fail and you succeed in front of
yeah, obviously the laughter is key.
I think the best thing to do, and this is advice I give to anyone new at starting, is that don't think about today, think about where you want to be in the near future or medium future or far future. Think about whether or not what you're doing will take you on that path. And that can dictate your type of material, it could dictate the way you present yourself, it could dictate where you perform. But I think the mistake you can make as a comic is just to go up, do a gig, I make people laugh, and then go home. Like you have to think more strategically than that. Does that make sense?
In what way?
Okay, so let's say your dream is to go and perform on Live at the Apollo. Like that's your pinnacle. That's most people's pinnacle, right? Like you can't go on Live at the Apollo if all of your jokes rely on you shouting and swearing. If you're happy to go to Glee on a Friday night and shout at stags and hens all evening long and kill the room, that's wonderful. but that's not the material that's going to get you on live at the Apollo, right? Yeah. So how do you make yourself the kind of act that is going to be perfect for the kind of place you want to be in? And that doesn't mean you can't go to a rowdy club on a Saturday night and just tell everyone they're bastards and slags and hoes and like get the laughs, right? Or talk about, you know, some of the things I talk about. But it also means you have to be aware that that's not going to work in the space you want to be in. Right. So, and a lot of people don't like that actually. A lot of people think, oh, that's a bit business-like, which means, like, do you want to make a living? Like, you know, do you want a job? Do you, or another example would be like, if you want to do topical writing, you've got to turn over a lot of material. Yeah. So how often are you writing? If you're doing the same 5 minutes, that is a perfect 5. You could have the most perfect 5 minutes of material and get to, you know, get lots of gigs off of it and get a manager off of it. But if your dream is to write topical comedy for Have I Got News For You or news quiz and stuff like that, where are you honing that skill if you're not writing your material constantly? So it's just like, where do you want to be?
So it's basically, being strategic, I guess.
Purposeful. A better word is purposeful. Yeah. Be purposeful. And comedy is so, like any creative medium, it's such a hard way to make a living. You need to know how you're going to exchange what you do for money. You know what I mean? Like, that's how are
so interesting, because like that's everything I'm reading about happiness. It's almost like the complete opposite of that in some ways. Like Stoicism and stuff believes that, you know, you don't have control over a lot of stuff. So like, if you like, in terms of having goals in life, they sort of think that can be bad because you can't control outside elements all the time. I mean, yes, you obviously have desires, things that you want, but don't be depressed if it doesn't go that way. But yeah, in terms of in stand-up or your career, it's completely different, isn't it? And I wish I'd spoke to you 5 years ago, Athena.
Yeah, right. 5 years ago, I didn't know any of this, by the way. I didn't know, if you spoke to me 5 years ago, I wouldn't have had any of this insight. But what I would say is that comedians are really depressed, and that's probably why. Like, if it's just the opposite of happiness, then that makes a lot of sense as to why a lot of comedians who only have comedy in their life either get really ruthless about it, and it's like really single-minded, or they struggle and they don't maybe get the success they deserve. I was always really lucky, because I started comedy fairly late compared to other people. I had a really nice job, and I kept that job actually till last November. So
really,
but then it just got my hair got grey. I was like, it's just too much.
Well done.
But, congratulations.
I always say ding ding when you have to
exactly.
When you can clock out.
Well, I'm telling you, the biggest advice, if anyone's thinking of doing stand-up, do not give up your day job until the last minute. A, because you'll need the money. And I think financial security is, I'm not a material person, but I think security is important. But B, what you're going to write about. If you meet people all the time, you have, you're observing, it keeps your mind really open. That gap in between picking up the microphone for the first time and being a full-time comedian, that space is so long. To want to just call yourself a full-time comedian the whole time, like, you have to eat, you've got to pay your bills, and you have to live with people. So it's a really good thing to keep your day job. It keeps you humble, keeps you grounded, and it keeps you. I genuinely think it was a key part to me, my resilience in the industry, because I always had that reason. I could reset myself after every gig, whether it was the best gig ever or the worst gig ever. I could, I'd have to wake up in the mornings, turn off the alarm, and go to my job. So it's there's a lot of young comedians starting out now who are like coming out of uni or whatever, and they want to go straight into comedy.
Young.
And it's not even the youth, it's just like sustainability. Like who it would be lovely. I want all of these guys to get paid, but it's not realistic. And the actual realistic thing to do is to work and gig. And when you're young, you don't have kids. You know what I mean? I couldn't have done the lifestyle I had 5 years ago. I couldn't have had it today with a daughter. So if you haven't got kids, work, do your day job, go out in the evenings, take it in your stride. Don't put that
sleep when you're dead, isn't it? Yeah.
So is that why you had a kid to keep things real?
No, she wasn't that intentional. She was actually definitely not intentional.
She was as my mum would say. My mum described me as a pleasant mistake.
I call mine surprise baby. She's a surprise baby. So
surprise!
had a joke. I called it Tinder surprise, which was a good joke. And I should start saying that joke again. But it does ground you. Having a distraction or something else to dedicate yourself to will make you happy, definitely.
I think is it what you're talking about there as well. I think it feels like you're talking about integrity in a way as well, because if actually you're, you know, what I want is I want to make this much a year doing comedy, and I know that I can do that by opening, it's not joggers in it, but you know, by working Friday, Saturday night at Glee, whatever, headlining, and that will make me a good living, and you know, I get to, you know, shag a member of the audience every weekend, and that's what I want. It's brilliant. Which is if you're doing, but if that's what you want, then you are behaving with integrity as such, and so it's going to be that soul level comfortability. Yeah. Whereas if actually what you want to do is write topical material for I Got News for You, but you're doing knob gags, you know, Friday night and Saturday night, it's not going to sit. What, you know, you're going to know, aren't you? You're going to know that it's not what your sole desire is.
And also it goes down to basic, like, are you qualified for the job that you want? You know, if you want to be a doctor, you go to medical school. You want to be a lawyer, you go to law school. If you want to be a topical comedian, you've got to write topical jokes. I mean, I've got a friend who's I've got loads of friends who would do this, like, character comedy, which is great, right? Like, character comedy is brilliant, but if you're a character comedian, you're probably not going to be on Mock the Week. You know, like, it's just, that's not going to happen. Or this particular friend is like, I really want a sitcom. It's like, you've got to write that sitcom, mate. No one's going to write it for you. And because you're a character comedian, like, that sitcom's going to have your character in it. So who else is going to write it other than you? So sometimes in comedy, because we work so hard just to get quite meager rewards, what we can do is sometimes think we deserve more rewards. And what we actually aren't doing is rethinking how we're working. And it took me a long, you know, I've wasted my time. I've gone through 3 or 4 cars doing comedy, you know. So I'm not speaking as someone who's always made the right decisions. If anything, I'm speaking as someone who's made a lot of wrong decisions. But I don't know how I got into
10 cars.
10
minutes.
Oh, right, sorry. I thought
wow,
she's been through 10 cars. But
10 minutes.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, 10 minutes. Excuse me. No. 4 cars.
We'll get to. God, this has gone far too quick today. Before we get to our regular feature of your ideal child-free night out, feel like, so these are some of the things that I read. Honestly, check out Mo Godin. He's also been on the How to Foul podcast a lot, so you can listen, because no one's got time to read anything at the moment, but if you're a mum anyway. He says happiness is something we have to work on. It doesn't just come, and particularly in lockdown at the moment, because obviously it's a really weird time to for our mental health and just for being happy. And one of the things he says is just focus on the next 20 minutes, which is sort of going against what you were saying about in terms of your career, but that's different. And you said it earlier about something, Athena, about recharging or something, and actually he said, well, like, think of ourselves like mobile phones. Before you got all the apps on and it's all clogged up, you get rid of the apps, clear it all out, and to prioritize. I like the way he says prioritize happiness, like you do exercise. I was like, yeah, I don't prioritize happiness, but we're all right. Are you dealing with lockdown all right, Athena, would you say? I'd caught a little bit of you on The Guilty Feminist, and that was a long time ago. That was so long ago, right, beginning of April, and you were all quite positive about lockdown.
Yeah, and I still am. Like, there's obviously, it's massively impacting our industry, and I've been saying that with stand-ups will be the last people to go back to work. They're going to put cats back before they put stand-ups back. You know, there'll be opera.
Well, they're doing the gigs
Michael
in
Jackson,
the
Thriller Live. That's all. But you know, you're right. A lot of gigs,
the driving gigs and stuff they're doing.
I've seen that. I've been offered a few driving gigs. I've not taken them as of yet.
Right.
So I've just kind of decided that is how things are. I'm so lucky to have a writing career. I don't know what it was that made me start writing scripted comedy. I have no idea, but it was a decision I made maybe 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, because you won the bursary, which was actually it was just up recently, the deadline for this year's one, the Felix Dexter. Is that right?
Sort of, I was really, I don't mean to brag, but I got a couple. I've got one which wasn't a bursary, so the comedy room thing, which is what I'm referring to, was the first real success I had. And the BBC run a scheme where they send in scripts, and they get about 3,000 scripts, and they pick 12 of them, and they mentor you throughout a kind of 6-7 month period.
Oh, fantastic!
I don't know if you've been through it, you know people, but it's you're not paid, but you take a couple of days out a month, and you get just like a lot of support, and you meet a lot of producers, and it's just like a really wonderful experience. And Felix Dexter was what I got this year, and that you do get paid. You do get paid for that. That is why that is why I'm happy during lockdown. If I didn't have that, I'd be screwed. There's no denying that. But that gives me a very modest, I will say, before people complain about the license fee. It is incredibly modest. But it is something. It's a guaranteed income that I can rely on for my basics, which is very useful. And I have on top of that, like writing commitments that trickle through a little few coins to me, so every now and again. So, I mean, diversify. If you're getting into stand-up comedy, please, even if you're creating content online, writing, improv, get a couple more strings to that bow, because stand-up is a shrinking, live stand-up is a shrinking industry with more and more people getting into it. And I think long-term mortgage paying strategies will involve more than good evening, good night. It's more than that, sadly. And it's sad, because that's the best part of it.
Is it your favourite then? It's your
favourite? Of course. I love stand-up. It's my favourite. I miss it immensely. Yeah.
It will be back at some point, but you're keeping busy at the moment anyway, you were saying earlier.
Yeah. So, and also with a little monster running around like that. Mom, every 10 seconds. So yeah, with all that, like, but at the same time, I think it's such a happy reason to be distracted and disrupted, you know.
Yeah.
So it's all good. I'll never complain about that. Never.
Oh.
So you've been in demand this week, Athena, you were saying.
Well, I seem to be the only black person people have on their phones. So it's been
make a lot of contributions.
It's all good. And I've had a lot of work offers coming. I can't lie. A lot of it I've said no to. A lot of it has been people I've worked with before, so I've got no issue with that. Some of it is people who I know have been personally told to sort out their writers' room. So I'm sure, you know, writers' room, for listeners who don't know, a lot of comedy is written by a team of people. And that team is almost always middle-class white men who went to Oxford. Like without and I always say diversity doesn't happen by accident. So I have no problem with somebody being forced to book somebody who looks like me, because I know I deserve to be in those rooms, and in a way that those guys don't, because they just got into those rooms based on affirmative action, you know, like they knew friends of friends, or they've got affinity. If I say affinity bias, you know what I mean? Like they've all watched the same cricket matches or whatever. So I don't have those access points. So whilst it's quite sad that this had to happen, like I'm when it's a good opportunity, I've definitely said yes, and I'm looking forward to showing them.
And how have you chosen? So how have you selected what to do and what not to do?
Money
recently. Wow, money. Good for you, girl.
No, money. Like, you know, and by the way, we get paid very modestly as writers. Like, it's not a well-paid industry at all. So, but you know, money and reputation. I'm really. Like I said, like if I didn't think I deserved to be in these spaces, then it would be an issue for me. And that is the only problem I have. I don't want people to be recruited and parachuted into places that they're not quite ready for, and then have the burden of representation. And then when they're not good enough, they'll be like, "Well, we tried." So you know, there are lots of qualified black and brown people out there to write and perform your comedy. You don't need to take the piss and just hire anyone for the crack. And if you don't know them, ask. That's what people did. These people didn't know me. Do you know what they did?
Yeah.
They just asked. Get outside your networks. That's all they did. They got outside their networks and they found. I'm an easy writing comedian to find. Do you know what I mean? I'm not. There's only one of me. And I've got an interesting name and I've got credentials. So I'm glad they finally found me. But in these circumstances, that would always have be a frustrating thing.
Oh, well, so I've got so many other bloody questions. I can't believe we've come to this.
Sorry, because it's a bit tight today. Yeah.
Because we you know we've always. I'll be quite honest. Me and Gemma always go, for fuck's sake, we've just got loads of bloody boring white faces on this podcast. But we always saying it. But it's not an excuse. But we always say like why can we not find the comedian mums? You know, it's because obviously our criteria is comedian mums. So that was going to be another question to you. Is like, is that, I don't know, is that a connection? I don't know, is that a thing? But
there weren't a lot of us actually, because it's hard to be a comedian if you're a parent. You know, like I said, I could not have done the circuit the way I've done it with a young child. And I do know the parents I do know. So Cindy V's got kids.
We've got her on next week.
Yes. Cindy V's got, oh God, this is so bad. How can I forget her name? She's a beautiful woman, half Lebanese, hilarious. I'm having a brain blank here.
Oh, Esther Manito.
Esther Manito got kids. Esther's a wonderful person. There weren't many parents there are lots of fathers because they're not doing the childcare, are they?
Don't even get started on that.
What they do is they leave their kids at home with their partners and they go on stage and they slag off their partners. The fucking audacity, you know, and then they go home. So it's true. And I know there aren't any parents because all my comedian peers are obsessed with my daughter. You know what I mean? Because they were getting broody. I'm like, have them, they're great.
Yeah.
No, there's something I'd like to do in future is to do, and I should do this in the near future, something that encourages more Black women to stand up and more people with caring responsibilities, whether that's provide a workshopping space or mentoring or support, because we're missing out on so much in terms of voice because we're not. Comedy is one of the least accessible industries in the world. It's so inaccessible. The venues are horrible, the timing is horrible, the travelling is horrible. So I feel like that's something I'd like to work on in the future.
Ooh,
I think and also let's keep in touch with that.
Please
what this is about. This podcast is, you know, funny.
We're all about upping women, and now we don't have time to blow. Well, just 3 words. What's your perfect night out without kids?
Boring. It's a date night, man. It's a date night.
And any women you want to big up at all? You can just big up yourself actually, if you want.
I want to talk about a writer. I think she's passed away now actually, but she's an American writer called Audre Lorde without the Y. And Lord with an E and the Audrey's without a Y, and just because a lot of people are looking for women to read about with the conversations that are happening now, and she's a very empowering woman, and she writes poetry and prose and essays, and sort of very renowned feminist, and somebody who, you know, I see a lot of names on Twitter and I don't see her name enough, so I definitely would recommend Audre Lorde as someone to investigate and get involved with if you don't know who she is.
Will do. I'm going to look her up. Gemma, anything you probably want to quickly shout about Cavendish Arms?
Oh yeah, Cavendish Arms at Stockwell will not be able to reopen unless I think it needs $8,000. They're doing a crowdfunder. Have a look on crowdfunder. If you've ever performed there, you know what it's like, and I think it's really important for the open mic circuit that it stays open. So please give what you can. Otherwise, big up yourselves, everybody.
Yeah, big up yourselves. And I don't normally say someone, but I want to, and she's a friend of yours. I heard her on your podcast, and she's a Facebook friend of mine, Verona Rose. Yes. Another woman to fucking, that sitcom has to happen. I want to help her, but I also don't want to charge in like a white fucking woman going, I'll help you just because I've had a sitcom on TV. But it has to fucking happen, you know. I think it's a great treatment.
Verona's got that treatment thing, but I happen to know she's got other stuff going on too. So
she'll be all right. She'll be all right. She's so fit as well. I don't know why I just said that. I'm like, she'll turn me. Not that I need turning really. Anyway, there we go. Thank you so much for joining us, Athena.
My pleasure.
I hope we get to do this in person.
Yes, after lockdown for sure.
Yeah, now the studios are back open at Soho Radio. We should be able to do the next couple of months if you want to travel into Soho. That would be lovely. Good luck with everything. We'll let you go. So just leave. You can go.
Pleasure. Take it easy.
Thanks very much.
Nice to meet
Funny
you.
Mummies.
Bye.
For Soho Radio.
You've been listening to the Funny Mummies podcast with me, Hatty Ashdown. Thank you to my panel and guests today. Edited and produced by Scott Kingsnorth in association with Screaming of Laughter, the lunchtime comedy club where babies can come too. These shows go out live on Soho Radio for the Other Woman show. See schedule for details. Please subscribe, rate and review and share this podcast. We really appreciate it, and it's the only way more people can find us. So see you next time for more Mum and Tonic.